about Mr. Heller. The Talmud makes the following statement. It says that Hamorid Ma'os al Adam Kosher, if a person cries when they hear that a Adam Kosher has passed away, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mina'on, God counts the tears, Umanichan b'meis genozav, and God places them in his treasure house. Very beautiful sentiment. But the question is, what's an Adam Kosher? A kosher person. An animal has to be kosher. A person doesn't have to be kosher. What do the rabbis mean by saying that? I heard from Rabbi Pinchas Scheinberg, Zeichel Avracha, the following explanation. I think it is very appropriate for Mr. Heller. In order for an animal to be kosher, it has to have all of its organs intact. It has to be a healthy animal. The two organs that are most vulnerable to becoming treif are the brain and the heart. If you find a machat in the leiv or a machat, a pin in the brain, the animal's treif, the animal is not kosher. To be an Adam kosher, your mind, your brain, and your heart have to be intact. They have to be sholem, they have to be whole. And I think this is the perfect description of Mr. Heller. We heard so many beautiful words and so many beautiful recollections from the family. But we as a community, I remember when Bela said that my parents are moving to New Rochelle, I remember how thrilled we were. Because Mr. and Mrs. Heller came to the community many times, for many Shabbosos, and it was always a delight. Mr. Heller was a delight. He and Adelaide would come into the shul, two elegant, two very refined people, and they would enhance the community. And Mr. Heller was a very unusual person. First of all, he was unusual that he was an older person and he had not one gray hair on his head. He also walked with perfect posture. He also spoke with tremendous refinement and sensitivity. But he was most comfortable, it would seem, with the Sefer, most comfortable with the Gemara, most comfortable with the Avort. And he would know all the Vertlach, and he would tell everybody all the Vertlach. People who spoke Hungarian, he told them in Hungarian. People who spoke Yiddish, he said it in Yiddish. People who only spoke English, he said it in English. It was a delight. He delighted in telling over Divrei Torah. And it was something that showed that this was a person who was Talmid Chacham. This is a person who learned. This is a person who was Machshiv Torah, a person who thought Torah was very, very important. But he was a very talented person. He was expert in many areas. And he was a very well-rounded individual in Excelsius. But he was very refined. He found the qualities of other people that he could choose and elevate them. He spoke with gentleness. He spoke with softness. He spoke in a way that made the other person feel that they were important. And that was something that was important to Mr. Heller. He was devoted. He had about a quarter of a mile, maybe more, stretch from his apartment to the shul. And who could forget the people who came to the shul every morning? Stan, you remember this. It could have been 20 degrees outside, 10 degrees, 5 below, and the streets could have been icy. And you saw this person walking straight, step after step, every single morning, 7 days a week, coming to shul for minyan. Where people who were half his age were afraid to walk out, he would come each and every morning to daven. I would once say to him, you really shouldn't come, it's dangerous. Beis Elokim nahalech berogesh. He quoted a pasuk from Tehillim. No, a Jew goes to shul in the morning. That's what he would do. And sometimes Bela was very frightened that something would happen to him, and she would offer him a ride, and he would refuse the ride, and he would walk, and Bela would go slowly with her car all the way to shul to make sure that he got there, but he came every single day because he was a quintessential Jew. He was a quintessential mensch. You know, Bela mentioned just yesterday, a few hours before he passed, he was the red fox. We remember the stories that he was the red fox. And I was always enchanted by those stories of daring do, of escape, of ingenuity, of outsmarting the attacker, outsmarting the... He, of course, attributed everything to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But he was the red fox. He was known as the red fox. And Bela mentioned to him yesterday, Daddy, you don't have one gray hair on your head. And it was something remarkable. A man 90 years old. And I was thinking, because that's emblematic who he was. That was the symbol of his tremendous stubbornness in life. That was the symbol of his resolve to live a wonderful life, not to just survive, but to make a family and to make a business and to make a life for himself in this country, and he did. Wonderful children, wonderful grandchildren, wonderful great-grandchildren, and many, many people who admired him, and many, many people who loved him, who respected him, who admired him. And in saying this, hopefully this will be a source of comfort to his children, Bela and Stan, Dr. Elliot Heller, Ziel and Cheki Feldman, Chesky Paneth, who I'm about to ask to speak, Yoni Weiss, and Tali, and of course to his wife Adelaide, to Donnie and to David, to Galit and to Asaf, and to Danielle and Judd, and to Alex and to Yaakov, and to Jordan, and to Adam, and to Layla, and to Bliai and Harak, Ken Yirbu, Ken Terbena, his 12 grandchildren.